Hello, and welcome to the Harvard Business School Club of San Diego CEO Forum. My name's Edward Hughes, and I'm the president of the HBS Club. Before I introduce our guests, I just have a few slides to share with you. How's that? Great. So welcome, and as usual, thank you to our sponsors, Hughes Marino, KPMG, Latham Watkins, and the Honor Foundation. Our mission as a club is to continue to educate leaders who make a difference in the world and make San Diego a great place to live and work. Some of you would have seen our full newsletter, which kind of outlined a lot of the programming that we are doing for this year. We run from a September to June kind of program year. It talks about a lot of the initiatives the club's undertaken, some of the social enterprise activities we've undertaken. So it's available on our website, and it's a good kind of reference for a lot of the things that we do as a club. What we do is a number of things. The core programming is around the CEO Forum, which we have today. We have had a fantastic list of CEOs over the last 12 or so months. You can see here from CEO of Topgolf, Callaway, Stowe and Brewing, former Navy SEAL, David Marino of Hughes Marino, TaylorMade Golf, most recently Oren Zelansky from Flock Freight, and then just a few weeks ago, Mick Farrell from ResMed, which was a fantastic one. So super excited to have a lot of great CEOs participate and talk a bit about their industry and the business that they're doing. We have a number of things coming up. So we've just started this week our management development program. As you know, we do a for-profit in the fall and a not-profit in the spring, winter timeframe, and that's just kicked off and got terrific attendance. So I'm looking forward to participating in that, teaching a case later on during the program. We have Professor Christina Wallace from HBS talking. She's written a really good book around creating a portfolio life, talking about how you manage different parts of your life, and that's on March 13th. As I say, one of the things that we kind of focus on is this management development program. It gives us an opportunity to bring a little bit of slice of Boston or HBS back to San Diego. And so we do this with these two programs, a for-profit and non-profit, and alumni are teaching HBS cases during those programs. The third thing that we do as a club, which is kind of important to us and it kind of fits with our mission of making San Diego a great place to live and work, is to have a strong social enterprise initiative. You can see here, and apologize, the chart's a little complex, but we've got a couple of things going on. We have donated a significant amount of money in the support of management development, where we've sent CEOs back to Boston, nonprofit CEOs back to Boston for a management development program. And we've also donated cash. The combined impact of the two is about $550,000. The first part of that, as I say, is management development. We've sent 44 CEOs back to Boston over the last 18 years. Last year, we had John Van Cleef from Community Resource Center, Todd Tibbetts from the YMCA, and Drew Moser from the Lucky Duck Foundation. Openings now are just starting up for applications, so please take a look at our website. We'll be sending emails about this. I believe it's got to be done by, I think, early March. So if you are part of a nonprofit organization that has a CEO you think could benefit from going on this program, it is a fully funded scholarship. Please encourage them to take a look at the program. We're really excited about it, and everybody who's been on it has had a fantastic impact. And as I say, the other thing is the local nonprofit program, which has just started this week. So I think we're going to have record attendees again for this year. Finally, we have some social networking. We've been trying to do some hikes and that kind of stuff. Obviously, the rain's kind of impacted a little bit us today. So today's format's going to be a webinar format. So I'm going to be doing a fireside chat with our guest. So let me stop sharing and introduce our guest. So I'm delighted to have Tom Penn with us today. Tom's a sports industry executive. He's been in the sports industry for 25 years. He was a co-founder of the Major League Soccer expansion, the LA Football Club, back in 2014, served as president and co-owner. So he's got a lot of experience related to what we're going to talk about today, which is great. He's also been in the NBA as an executive there, 4 seasons as vice president of basketball operations, assistant general manager of the Portland Trail Blazers, and before that worked with the Memphis Grizzlies. Tom, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Sorry for the little misstep here where I'm not live, but at least we were able to schedule this and have our conversation. So I send all my best to everybody who's on the Zoom right now, and my apologies for not being there live and in person.
So I found out late yesterday that Tom took a flight over to London. His one of his major backers wanted to meet with him, and maybe he'll tell us a bit more about that coming up. So he's now in the heart of soccer. I'm an English guy, as you can tell from the accent here. So yeah, he's
Who's your club? Who's your club?
you know, my father was raised in Liverpool, so unfortunately he picked the Everton, which it would have been good if he picked Liverpool, but I was born in London, close to Arsenal, so I kind of have a little bit of affinity with those guys as well. So, but I think he went to a Premier League game on the weekend on Sunday, right?
I did. Went to Arsenal hosting Liverpool, which was the game of the week, and sort of a clash at the top of the table.
Yeah.
And it was exceptional. What a setting, what a scene. Arsenal won it 3-1. But it was quite a scene. You would have, as a Brit, you would have just been proud as could be seeing the way you all represented there.
How many people do they get in the attendance now in like a game like that?
Well, the stadium at Arsenal is one of the better ones here. They don't have that good of infrastructure in the Premier League. The Premier League is this massive global property, and the amount of money being spent is just incredible, top to bottom. But there aren't that many nice venues. Tottenham just recently built a state-of-the-art, what I would call an Americanized venue that's sort of upping the ante on the way premium seats are offered, the way the hospitality experience is higher level, next level, and then you can drive higher ticket prices. The Emirates Stadium, which is the one you're asking about, 60,000 seats. So it's properly sized. It's big and it's relatively new, but the suites we were in were great, but nowhere near as nice as San Diego, for example, in terms of the amenities, the food offerings. The whole premium experience is so far superior in the United States than it is here in England, where it's lagging behind. But that one was a cool experience. 60,000 people singing together, very intense.
That's cool, and obviously the Premier League's continues to be on a roll, and soccer worldwide, how's it doing?
Oh man, on fire, right? I mean, post-pandemic, we're all sort of back in sports. Every week you see record viewership numbers, record engagement. It's sort of all off the charts. You've seen the NFL even is getting their highest viewership ever. MLS got their highest engagement ever. A lot more on MLS later, but I just think sports in general are just on fire, the way we all sort of intellectually thought during COVID when it nearly wiped everything out. Of course, mass gatherings is what sports is, and that was totally unallowed. So now we always thought, okay, when we get back, we're going to be back and better than ever. It's finally there. And to your question about just overall global football, it's all on the rise, but in particular, Major League Soccer in America is on the rise relative to the others, a lot because of Messi's arrival, but also the World Cup is coming, and just the overall perception of Major League Soccer is elevated. And it's really a fun time for San Diego to get in the mix.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's talk about both of those things you mentioned. Leo Messi coming over. I mean, you see it on the news, you see the impact. I mean, how big a deal is that?
Way bigger than we thought. We thought it would be big, but the way he showed up and what happened when he got here, it was all sort of make-believe storybook. You never could have written it. Sure, he's the greatest of all time, but for him to come in and he jumped right into this new competition called Leagues Cup. And Leagues Cup is a first of its kind tournament where we pause the MLS season, and in Mexico they pause the Liga MX season, and then we compete in like a World Cup format. So Messi came into that and just supercharged it and had all those ridiculous last minute goals and super highlights, and David Beckham crying with delight as he watched Messi just go eventually win that cup. So I think Messi coming in was one thing. The way he performed was quite another, that was just, you can't script it. And then the overall lift in the perception of our business has been staggering. I mean, everybody's franchise values are up.
Wow. Okay.
we look like heroes. We bought in at a certain number in May, and our partners over here in England went from people saying, wow, you paid that much, to everybody saying, wow, you got a steal. I mean, it just sort of flipped the perception of the league globally. And he's back for a first full season this year in 2025, and Messi will play again in 2026, leading right into the World Cup. So it's a cool double booster on the MLS business.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. His impact has been fantastic. So, so the World Cup 2026, US has part of it, along with Mexico and Canada. I mean, obviously the largest global sporting event. Again, great timing for San Diego, right?
Yeah, you know, the last time the World Cup came to America, Major League Soccer was born out of it. Part of what the deal was with FIFA, when FIFA awarded it back, whenever that was, and was it, I can't remember the actual year, but Major League Soccer is like 28 years old, 30 coming up. It's anyway. FIFA said to US Soccer, we'll bring the World Cup, but you got to develop a proper first division league. And Major League Soccer was born. Fast forward to now, World Cup's coming back. Major League Soccer is now up to 30 teams. We're the number 30. I never say we're 30th because we're not 30th in anything. We're just the latest. But you know, we come in 2025, the World Cup in 2026. One of the strategic questions at the league level is, how do we really take advantage of that? And what does the league look like on the back end of that, as you know, the world turns its attention more and more towards soccer in America? In 2025, FIFA is bringing the World Club Cup competition. So that's when the best teams from the other club competitions, so the best teams from Spain, Real Madrid, Barcelona, are going to come in, and they're going to play against Man United and Chelsea and the best teams from England, so to speak. Liverpool, maybe Everton makes it out, although I doubt it at this point. But you get the joke. All the best teams, the club teams, are going to come compete for a title in America. And then in 2026, all the national teams come via the World Cup and compete for the World Cup. So you're going to have all eyes on America. That's right when we spring into existence. So it's good and relevant for our club. But, you know, Edward, it's more interesting on where does this take the perception of the league, and where does the league go from here? That's where I say it's just a, you know, double booster on the MLS rocket ship. We're already flying, soaring. You put Messi in there, you put the World Cup in there, and it just takes it next level.
Yeah, I mean, two massive kind of events or trends kind of happening at kind of the same time, roughly. So, is that going to drive viewership, or do you think it's going to drive more people into playing soccer at a young age, younger kids kind of getting into the game, or is it going to drive kind of everything?
I think it's everything. You know, the first thing is just relevance in the global football world. And I can tell you that, you know, unlike the other sports, figure in NFL, the one and only league is in America. So all the best players are here. In the NBA, by far and away, the best league and the best 400, 500 players in the world are in America. NHL, same thing. In soccer, we sit, depending on how you look at it, seventh best league in the world, right? So we're somewhere, and there's a lot of teams and leagues way worse. So in the movement of talent, we're sort of in the, you know, that mid-tier, if you will. Do we start attracting more of the primary talent? You know, do we get players like Mbappe to want to come here instead of going to PSG or to Real Madrid? Do we get, maybe it's not the best of the best, but the next level down, do they start coming in? Does that take all of our product and supercharge it or make it better? You know, do we start filling bigger venues in America? You already see in Atlanta, Seattle, Charlotte, they're playing in NFL stadiums, and they do quite well in filling the stadium. In San Diego, we're going to have the largest soccer-specific stadium I say that because the university has built it for their American football team, the college team, but they really purpose designed it for our club and for an MLS team to come in. So we're going to be 32,500 seats, 35,000 capacity with standing room and other. So we'll be one of the biggest venues in America. But all of that, when I talk about macro trends, better players, bigger venues, more eyeballs, more attention from the best athletes in America to play the sport, all that should happen coming out of the World Cup.
That's fantastic. I mean, I know the English Premier League is, you just look at every team, it's players from all over the world, right? And they have the money to do that. I mean, it's to get a player like Mbappe, it's going to cost a fortune, etc. Do you think that's 3, 4, 5 years out for MLS, or it's a longer time frame to do that? Because clearly the economics, whether it's the television rights or whether the attendance has got to drive being able to afford somebody like that.
Yeah, media rights is going to drive a lot of it, and that's really where the significant upside is in the future. To get Mbappe, would I say 3, 4, 5 years? Yes, that's what I would have said before, if even that. But I would have the same answer on Messi. I would have said we're never going to get Messi. And the fact that they were able to structure a deal to get Lionel Messi to come, and it's been published as to how that was put together. They were able to give him a piece of every jersey that's sold via the Adidas relationship. They were able to give him a piece of every additional Apple television subscription that happens globally. And MLS did, and then Miami was able to give him a big base salary, a bunch of incentive compensation, plus an equity participation in the team, right? So he's going to be a co-owner of that club when he's done. So you put all those things together, there's ways to do creative deals that get a lot of value to the superstars. And this Apple TV relationship with MLS is historic, new, and different. And we could talk more about that at some point.
Okay. And I think David Beckham had a similar kind of deal in the sense that he got a future right to participate in a franchise. I don't quite know how, but obviously he's part of the Inter Miami management team, though.
Yeah, another great example. So that's how this whole thing started, was when the LA Galaxy sort of broke the mold by saying, hey, we have a chance to get David Beckham. And if you remember when he came over, it was announced as like a $250 million deal or something like that, which was just, incredible at the time. And a part of that deal, it was sort of similar, base salary, share of all upside revenues, so on and so forth. But he also received an opportunity to purchase his own expansion franchise at a prearranged price. And so that eventually became Inter Miami when he was able to put the deal together, and he got it at a real discount compared to what else was happening at that time with expansion. So it just shows you MLS's flexibility and creativity to reinvent itself in order to up the game. And that happened in Beckham's case. It's happened again in Miami's case, and could happen again for other players in the future.
That's awesome. Awesome. So let's talk a bit about the most recent expansion. San Diego got a team. How did we get a team?
Boy, it's been a long time coming for San Diego. What a perfect market, right? And it was always one of the head scratchers around the league, is how is there not a team in San Diego? San Diego's producing the best talent in America for a long time. A disproportionate number of national team players on the men's and women's team come from the San Diego area. San Diego's this incubator of binationality with Mexico and across the border. And, boy, I'm now getting to understand that since I live here and have been able to see it and experience it. And it always over indexes on people watching soccer. It's always U.S. men's national team plays per capita basis. San Diego's right up there, top 3 always, and many times number 1. So that was always a head scratcher. And what you need, Edward, to get a club here to win expansion is you need the market, which we've always had. You need a stadium solution, and you need multi-billionaires that the league wants to bring into the club, right? So you need ownership, stadium, and market. And the last swing and miss for the city was, of course, the battle over what became Snapdragon Stadium. Soccer City was on the one hand, looking to redevelop Qualcomm with an MLS identity. And you had San Diego State University saying, no, 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 we have a better plan. We'll do it for our university, for our soccer or our football team, but we'll involve MLS as well. That went to referendum and San Diego State won it easily.
Yep.
That led to San Diego State then doing what they said. They built a spectacular stadium. They purpose designed it for an MLS team. And so when I left LAFC and turned some attention towards San Diego, I saw perfect market and I saw stadium solution. And I knew that the last thing we needed was ownership. So in a way, it happened in reverse order. A lot of times you have the billionaire who wants to invest in MLS and you look for the market and figure out a stadium. That's actually was what I followed at LA. I had a billionaire who really wanted to be a part of this. We're trying to find which market to go to, and we wanted big market because he was from Asia. And then we figured out a stadium. In this case, market was perfect, stadium solution was there, and we just needed the right ownership group.
How did you put together the ownership group? Maybe you can talk a bit about that, because it's quite diverse, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, we landed in such a cool place. We landed with a joint venture between the Sequan tribe,
right,
the first Native Americans that are at the Board of Governors table and have a seat in major men's sports. It's just awesome. Yeah. And they're the local, you can't get more local. You
no,
cannot get local than the indigenous tribe. And they have such a great reputation in town. And that's really what happened is Cody Martinez, the chairman of Sequan, came forward, and he and his friend Brad Termini, who they're friends at YPO, and they had been talking about, man, we would really like to work together to bring pro sports to San Diego. And that predated me coming in the picture. They just had this idea of let's do something good for the city. And then we came along with the idea of saying, well, what about MLS? And they thought, wow, what about MLS? We hadn't thought about that. So they sort of took that energy, and Cody said that he wanted to lead this from a local standpoint with Sequan. They'd sponsored sports forever. They've been such an important part of the community, and their casino expansion really took them to a new level. Mm-hmm. They were already a dominant position locally, but now with that new casino expansion in the resort tower, they were just in a different space. And we were looking for the right match. And, Edward, when you want a partnership, you want complementary skills. And what Sequan did not know was global football, right? They didn't know soccer operations, football operations, didn't know how global football worked. And they're, fast learning, but didn't know. And we found the perfect partner with Mohammed Mansour and his Right to Dream group. So once that match was made and we were able to explain to the league how this is beyond what you would want in a partnership, you've got the ultimate local presence in Sequan that know hospitality and how to engage with this market. And then you've got the ultimate football operators globally. The Mansours own a network of youth academies and professional teams that are going to plug into San Diego and give us access to a pipeline of talent and expertise in operations that you can't otherwise get. We would have just had to home create it ourselves. So that's the partnership. Sequan with Mansour's and Right to Dream, and what you end up having is this club that ought to hit the ground running, both commercially and performance-wise on the pitch.
And what is that to get a franchise cost nowadays? You said a little bit earlier that the value's already gone up because of what Messi's doing and Inter Miami, et cetera. So, what are we talking about to kind of get this kind of thing going?
Well, there's been a number widely publicized. I'm not confirming, denying, or commenting on it, but the number that's widely out there is that it was $500 million to earn the right for this expansion opportunity. We've talked about a significant investment in our youth academy and in our performance center, our training center. So we're doing a $150 million investment in our training ground and in our development. We didn't have to build the stadium, which is a huge capital savings, right? But then you've got all the startup costs. So I just gave you 650 plus whatever, another 50 to start the whole thing. So if you talk about capital in, you're probably in that amount of range. Forbes just came out with their latest valuations of MLS clubs that the upper echelon are valued at about 1.2 billion to a billion to just below a billion. There's Forbes and Sportico do these valuations. In my opinion, those are relatively accurate, and we're going to be up in that. We're going to be up in that range of clubs. We'll be one of the upper echelon, higher performing revenue clubs, and we've got this interesting strategy with youth development and with talent. And in global football, if you can develop your own pipeline of talent, number one, you get younger, you get better, but then you can sell those player contracts in the global marketplace, and it becomes quite a different economic profile or outlook.
So you're doing the start of the academy at the same time as you're putting together the actual football team, right? So I mean, I've had the opportunity in my career to start a couple of companies and build some teams, but never a football club. So yeah, you've done this once before. Where do you start? I mean, you gotta get a roster, you gotta get coaches, you gotta everything, right? I mean, the stadium I go to see the San Diego Legion, the rugby team at Snapdragon's fantastic. So you've got a great rolling start there, but starting from scratch, putting a team together, how do you do that?
Yeah, in general, like for the club, not the team, I like to say it's people, places, and processes. Depends on the order, but we needed to get our infrastructure locked and loaded. We had the stadium I talked about. We had the big thing was getting Singing Hills, our training ground, locked in, and then our headquarters, right? So we've got all of our places established. Our corporate headquarters is in Little Italy. Our training ground, our performance center, our youth academy, 28 acres, 125,000 square feet of infrastructure, and best in the world. This will be among the best in the world for a training ground, a residential youth academy, so on. That's out at Sequan, Singing Hills, right on their golf course. Gorgeous place. And then it's all about processes, and you just take it one at a time. Establish our brand. We get the whole business enterprise built, and then you get the football operations built. So that was really your question. But the lead into what I'll answer now is just sort of the macro project, identifying the brand, launching that, engaging with the community in an authentic way. We're doing that every weekend now with these cool events. And then the product on the pitch sort of comes last. And I can speak to that. You want me to just keep going, or should I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So when I talk about now the building of the team itself, think of it as roughly 20 players. The first 5, not in order, but the first 5 emotionally would come from the expansion draft. We're going to be able to go to the other 29 teams and select one player off of 5 other teams. So we're going to be able to pluck 5 existing players free and clear. And some good players get exposed. They can protect their first 11 players, but you'll have good players exposed because the contract might mean they're willing to let them go if somebody would select them. We can do trades around that time too. So we may get 7, 8, 9 players via that expansion draft moment where we would absorb players from other rosters. We get the top pick in the college draft in both rounds. So we could get 2 players from college. That gets you to about 9. And then the rest of it comes from that global market we were talking about. There's a salary cap in MLS, and we get 40% more money to spend than everybody else, roughly, as a way to catch up. So we'll have more money to spend from league pools of money that allow us to do uneven trades, that allow us to sign players and bring them into different slots as a way to catch ourselves up. And then we still have the opportunity to do 3 designated player deals where we can go out and sign any player for any kind of deal we want. We could go as extreme as a Messi deal, or we could do a lesser deal where we pay a big transfer fee and we bring in a star in his prime and we pay him a lot of base compensation to really make our mark. And we can bring in young players that are going to progress quickly, and we might buy their rights for 5 million, and then as they advance, sell their rights for 15 million. That's how you play in the global transfer market. And a lot of clubs have had success bringing in younger talent, letting it ripen and mature here, and then selling those player contracts on to Europe. So that's how you get the team together. Coaching staff will come this summer, once the coaches are sort of free and clear and think about when they can transfer. And we've got our sporting director. We kind of know who we're going to hire, and we're getting closer to announcing that. So all that's in the works.
Wow, that's a lot going on. So come back to the players for a second. So the 3 designated deals, those they have to stay within the salary cap?
No, they can be explicitly outside the salary cap with no limit. So Messi's the perfect example.
Okay.
In a real salary cap system, how do you bring a player in and let him be an equity holder in the team? That's crazy. You can't do it.
Right.
In this particular case, you can go sort of as extreme as the Messi deal and find all these creative ways to compensate a player, and all those designated players count on your cap at the then maximum salary that's allowed for a player. And at the moment in the MLS, that's around $700,000. So Messi's counting for $700K on their books, even though he's earning, a multiple of that.
Okay.
So we have the chance to do the same thing with players, where we can pay 3 players whatever we want, and they'll count only at a maximum number on the books.
And for how many years do they count only at that maximum?
For as many years as they're qualified as a designated player. So if we were to do a 5-year deal with a player in his prime, okay, and let's say we were going to pay $20 million to acquire that player, make it 25 to do the math right, 25 million to acquire his rights, and we pay him 10 million a year. The league would take that $25 million acquisition cost and apply it $5 million a year, and then to that $10 million a year salary. So he'd count on our books. Well, he'd be in a $15 million slot in that math, but he'd only count for the $700,000 that is the then league maximum.
Okay. And then the 40% extra that you can go over the cap, how many years does that last for?
Well, we have to spend that in those first couple of years as a way to catch up. And then we're sort of into the rest of the system. And the system is basically one where it's a firm salary cap at the bottom, and then it has exceptions where you can spend over it. So the 3 designated player exceptions, we talked about it. You can give them whatever they want. Below that, in the evolution of the league, they went from 1 designated player to 2 to 3. And then we got in this imbalance where we were paying 3 guys a ton, and then everybody else was way down here. And we wanted to populate more of a mid-level band of players. So we created mechanisms. You could spend more than the maximum 700,000. You can spend more, like up to 1.8 million per player for these mid-level folks that are next. So players 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we're in that range, trying to balance the roster spend out more without going too crazy.
And I know you're just starting. You said you got your director of football operations joining, and then the coaches in the summer, etc. When do you start thinking, okay, I'm now going to start putting names against spaces here in the roster?
So we're already doing that. Now back to the expertise of Mansour and Right to Dream. So Right to Dream is a one in the world kind of enterprise that started as a youth academy in Ghana 24 years ago. Okay. And this brilliant man named Tom Vernon invented Right to Dream quite by accident. He was a football coach. He adopted a young orphan. he built a team for the young boy and moved all the kids into his house, and then tried to figure out how to take care of these 16 kids as his own. And he coached them and they educated them, and half of them went to play professionally and half of them went to college in America on scholarships via the prep school route.
Yep.
And so to this day, they operate now the best youth academies in Ghana, in Denmark, so we're in Scandinavia, in Egypt, just launched in Egypt a couple of years ago as part of Mr. Mansour's investment, and now in San Diego. So we're going to have 4 elite boys academies. And then they also operate one of the best young professional teams in Europe, and that's in Denmark. They operate a club called FC Nordsjælland that 2 years ago, last year, was the youngest team in all of Europe and just on a rocket ship as far as player sales. And they're providing some of the best young talent into the Premier League. And they had 7 players playing in the World Cup that were products of their academies. So they're global experts in football. And to your question of players that we're already signing, we have the opportunity to sign players in partnership with the team in Denmark, and then allow those players to sort of gel together over the course of 2024 so that they can come ready in January of 2025. So we'll use that as a way to develop some players, some chemistry, coaching connectivity, because the key to this integrated success is that our style of play is consistent across all those youth academies and the professional teams. And so you get an integration with coaching staffs, you get an integration with the academies and the way we teach these kids starting at age 10 on up. They're learning the same style of play. So when they hit San Diego's first team, when they're 18, 19, 20, they're just ready to fly.
That's cool. So you got a nice bench kind of starting from that. I mean, obviously you can't tell us exactly what you're thinking, but are you thinking you're going to bring in some players from Europe and some other places, some marquee names? Is that kind of a game plan that's, expansion teams have done? Obviously, we saw what Inter Miami just did, but that was, one in a lifetime type deal,
Yeah. In the long haul here, Edward, our identity is going to be around high quality youth development. So we'd like to trend a little younger, and we'd like to home grow our talent, to bring the best of the best from San Diego and Mexico. That's our home territory, is the San Diego County, and then across the border into TJ, we have the ability to recruit in both of those areas, and nobody else can recruit in Mexico in the United States. We're just able to do it because we're within 50 kilometers of the border, and FIFA rules allow you to cross border if you're that close.
Oh, nice.
So our home territory is there. Then you plug in the best kids from sub-Saharan Africa when they hit 18. We can't bring them before 18, but when they hit 18, then you can do transfers. So you would envision the best from Africa, the best from Egypt, the best from Scandinavia, mixing with the best from San Diego and TJ. How's that for a mix?
Pretty
So
diverse,
that would be
global.
diverse, global, all trained the same way, all educated the same way through Right to Dream. And we know them well, right? So that's where the club will be eventually. In the early years, we need to mix, we're going to bring a bunch of players off of other MLS rosters. We're going to bring a bunch of other free agents from around the globe, so to speak. So you're going to be mixing together as we trend towards what I just described as the medium to long-term vision for the club. But in the short term, we want to make a splash when we say hello and have a cool mix of veterans with youth, high potential, and just signal which direction we're going.
And when do we find out about that? When is that splash going to be kind of announced type of thing? I know they'll be individually done, but is it kind of late 2024?
No, I'd say in the summer. And in the summer, as soon as the window close, the European season ends, let's say, I think you'd see us start adding in more players officially because in the summer is when Europe reshuffles. They take their off season in the summer, they reshuffle for the fall. our trick, actually, one of them is to figure out a way to get our best players to come in January of 25 when we start, because that's mid-season in Europe and around the world. So you get, a lot of players don't want to leave their club, or the club doesn't want to give them up in January in the middle of their season right now. But that's when we're in our preseason and ramping up to start in February of 25. So I think you're going to hear more about our sporting announcements in Q1, Q2. And by the end of Q2, you're going to probably know which direction we're headed.
Cool. Well, that's exciting. Let's switch and talk a bit about the business of soccer. So can you give me an idea? I mean, maybe it's from the general MLS data. What's kind of the split of the revenue from television rights versus merchandising versus kind of ticket sales?
Yeah, different in each sport. In MLS, let's talk about what it's not. It's not like the NFL or the NBA, where the bulk of the revenue comes from major media rights deals at the league level, or from media rights in general. At the moment, we've done this historic media deal at the league level with Apple TV, and it's historic because we consolidated strategically. We decided to do this, take all global, national, and local media rights and put them into one package and talk to various providers. We didn't know we were going to end up with the biggest company in the world, right, with Apple, but that's the way the league ended up, is first ever deal where it's all consolidated. So now we're in this massive subscription business, and that's a 10-year deal that there's 9 years left on it. But the league shares in global subscriptions as they happen. So that's why a signing like Messi has big impact. That's why this League's Cup competition has big impact, because it makes it really relevant in Mexico. That's why if we were able to sign a massive Egyptian star, it would be really relevant in Egypt, because we could go sell subscriptions there, and so on and so forth. So the media rights are not the main bloodline of revenue the way they are in the NFL or NBA. Our main bloodline of revenue comes from our local revenue, comes from our game day revenue, comes from our stadium. That's why having a high quality stadium is a huge advantage. The MLS clubs maintain almost all of their local revenues, right? So now it depends. How good is your stadium? How good is your premium? How good is your local sponsorship? Because that's your revenue to keep and maintain. Some of it, there's some micro sharing that goes on, but the bulk of it just stays local. So if you think about that, then you chunk it out. Sponsorship is a big line item, a big hunk. Ticket sales, regular ticket sales is a big hunk, and premium ticket sales is a big hunk. And the premium ticket sales are your suites, loge boxes, club seats, and whatever else you can do to get premium revenue. And then how big is your house and how much can you sell your house for? It's pretty simple, right? But we have one of the biggest houses, I just said, in the league, and we'll have 28,000 full season ticket members. And we're in the process of rolling all those products out to the market. And the question is, how much contractually obligated income can we get versus, with multi-year suite deals, multi-year loge box deals, multi-year club seat deals? Not every team can do that. And then how robust is the season ticket demand? Will we have a wait list, which we're expecting? We're expecting a full sellout, and then a wait list with demand pressure then for future years. And then how can you maximize on game day with food and beverage, with parking, with merchandise sales? All that sort of ancillary revenue adds up. So that's how I would chunk it out. The bulk of the P&L rides on how you can monetize locally on game day.
Okay. And I know I talked to some friends about this webinar, and they're like, yeah, we're interested in suites, we're interested in season tickets, etc. So you've just started rolling that out. Are you getting nice reception to that?
Yeah, the way we go to market on that is in a phased sales process. where we first are engaging on our ultra premium, on our suites, our loge boxes, and our pitch boxes. And we invented these pitch boxes down on the grass where we're taking 8-seat little mini suites and dropping them right on the grass. So, and it's like a courtside seat in basketball where your feet are on the wood. Instead of that, your feet are literally on the grass.
Wow.
And you get this cool chance to be right down in the action and feel it roll by. So we're in the market on those. We've had great reaction to the ultra premium, and we've just now started selling our club seats. So we're engaging soon with the club seat buyers. So for this audience, I will just say, if you have any interest in any of that product I'm talking about, premium seats, now is absolutely the time. I'm not here to sell anything. I'm not here to pitch anybody, but if you have interest for you or your company, I'll give you my email. Just hit me directly and I'll vault you into our sort of friends and family pipeline. And my email's tom.penn@sandiegofc.com. So if somebody wants TOMPENN, tom.penn, email me directly. I'm happy to then get you force fed into the process and prioritized, because if I would say don't wait, because there's so much interest right now.
Awesome, because yeah, there is a lot of interest, and people are excited about having another professional team here. I mean, as you know, we lost the Chargers. So getting a soccer team is going to be fantastic. So, yeah. Back to the media rights. So is it like the NFL where they spread it evenly across each team, or is it based on some other mechanism?
Yeah, the base fee that's paid by the rights holder and the share of the upside is spread equally amongst the clubs. So there isn't a scenario where if you're a top performing club, you earn more. In theory, it could be resorted that way if the board of governors at the league level would decide to distribute revenues less evenly. MLS is uniquely structured in American sport where it's a single entity. So while we came in as team number 30, we didn't buy just a franchise. We bought 1/30th of the entire league. So all clubs own the league equally. And we own when we laugh together, we cry together, both sides of it across the league. So you get tremendous collaboration and partnership at the league level, even more so than the other leagues, the associations of the NFL and the NBA and NHL. In our baseball, in our league, we're all in it together. Truly, we all own the thing together.
That's exciting. So you're a year out now. How are you feeling about where you're at with your progress?
Delighted and excited. I'm not from San Diego, so I moved here as part of this venture. And from the outside, my perception of San Diego was quite limited, actually. It's probably stereotypical. I thought of the coast and I thought of downtown, but I didn't really have an idea just how mighty the market is. In particular, in innovation.
Right.
I mean, so cutting edge, so on the front foot, leads the nation in patents per capita, in large part because of bioscience and all the life sciences and tech. But, the best of the best in the military has been here forever, just cutting edge, making stuff happen. And I've come to learn that that's a big part of the San Diego identity. And that just excites me so much because we view ourselves as that in global football. With this youth development, we want to change the way youth development happens in North America. And our vision is to be the epicenter of football excellence and innovation in North America. And we believe we can do that with the infrastructure I've described out at Singing Hills and with this international expertise in player development. So when you go back to just where we are, I'm just thrilled to get to know this market, and everything I learned just excites the hell out of me. And I know that we can be really reflective of the overall community, that we can be a club that represents the entire community. And back to my faulty perception from the outside, when this started, Cody Martinez, the chairman of Saquon, said to me, Tom, whatever you do, we got to build a club for the entire county. It's not what you think from the outside. It's not just the coast. It's not just downtown. This is a big dynamic place. I was born in El Cajon and I grew up in East County, and we care, we matter. And so we've really come up with this strategy to embrace the entire county and across into TJ. 6 million people. There's only the Padres. So we know we have the chance to be something disproportionately relevant. We're a small business compared to everybody else on this Zoom. I mean, you all run massive enterprises in terms of revenue and employees and impact. And we're this like little $100 million revenue business that's going to have this massive impact in the community because of what we are. And that's fun.
That's great. I mean, I always tell young entrepreneurs, it's, when you're raising money, it's matters as much who you raise it from as, how much you raise. And what it sounds like, you've got partners that have money, but also bring tremendous value added as well. The Monseurs, the Sequan, etc. You've got, the place with the training centers. I mean, so it sounds like you're really putting together this nice package that hopefully is going to be a great success for San Diego. So, yeah, so you had to fly to London. I know you're not going to tell me why you had to fly to London, etc. But are you under a time crunch now and things that kind of got to get going, or you're like, okay, I got my plan and I'm on track?
I sort of view it like we're running a marathon the way that the Kenyan runners run it. We're just in that
Gone fast.
we're in this dead ass sprint that just, is like a marathon long sprint. And I love those social media posts where they show regular people trying to run at marathon pace on a treadmill and they end up falling off. Oh, so yeah. we're in, I don't know if you've seen those, but it's quite funny. You can't even believe how fast these guys run. I feel like we're in a bit of a sprint, but it's a marathon sprint. And, the reason I'm in London, frankly, are some football operations related missions here. Right. So to the stuff I told you we're working on and trying to accomplish it, I needed to be here and had some great meetings with the Mansours in person and other folks. So sort of off on assignment with that. And then the other thing that's high priority right now is our commercial relationships. So the key sponsorships we're going to have, the front of kit, who's on the front of kit? That's just this prime real estate for us and a really major partner. The next most important partner is on the sleeve. We've got the opportunity to put another partner here, and then the naming of our training ground, for example, and then many other levels of sponsorship, partnership. We're deeply engaged with all sorts of folks on that, and that's a really important, next step in the journey to partner with the right companies. And it's not just about, the level of capital investment. It's also how are they going to activate in the community? Are we aligned with what we want to do for San Diego? How can we do that together? So, on that sprinting marathon, one of the keys is knowing what's the next thing, what's the next thing to knock down and get done. Otherwise, it can be quite distracting if you're not focused on the right next part of the journey.
Yeah, it is a marathon putting together what you're putting together, but it sounds like looks like you're having fun doing it. You seem excited about it.
I mean, look, it's sports, right? Sports and entertainment. If we can't have fun doing this, there's something wrong with us. And I want us to be a source, and we will be a source of joy. When you talked about the mission of your organization and making San Diego a better place to live and work, we're a big part of that. We can be, right? I mean, it's a more interesting place. We're wearing San Diego on our crest. And when we do something good, the world will notice, right? Literally, way more. Padres, when they do something great, the nation notices. But if we go on a big title run or sign a big player or do something global interesting, it's truly interesting to the world. And we want San Diego to shine. And we feel like we have the responsibility and the opportunity to represent San Diego to the world. And, that's super cool when we don't really even exist yet, right? but it'll be a fun process.
That is super cool. I know when something good on the sports world happens for San Diego, people get all excited about it. So, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I want to thank you for taking the time, Tom. And I know you're in London doing more important stuff than that. But I appreciate you cutting us into this schedule, and we look forward to the football club starting, and looking forward to many great years of being part of this community. So I'm excited. I'm a soccer fan. I love Snapdragon Stadium, so it's going to be great. So Tom, I want to thank you very much, and thank everybody for listening to this. So we appreciate you
Yeah,
taking
my
the time.
pleasure. You're welcome anytime, Edward, and really everybody is. We want to be a club for the whole community. So I have no idea how many folks are on this or will see it, but you're all, we'd love to be your football club in your hometown and integrate within the community. And I'd love to meet any one of you anytime to just sort of get to know you, your companies, and how we could collaborate and do something cool and interesting to help make San Diego a better place.
There you go. Sounds great. All right, Tom. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
You.
You go.